He posted every milestone online before telling me in private. When I finally spoke up, he called me too sensitive. So I went silent, and now he's the one refreshing, waiting, wondering. The first time I realized I wasn't really in my relationship, I found out about it on Instagram. Dan had just posted a close-up of two apartment keys in his hand, perfectly angled in golden hour light. The caption read, "She said yes to the lease," followed by the phrase "new beginnings" and a red heart emoji. He tagged me in it at Lena Hartley. That tag was how I knew it had gone live. We'd signed the lease a week before. We'd already moved in a couple of boxes. I'd just come back from Target with a bag of cleaning supplies when my phone buzzed with notifications. Congrats from friends, DMs from people I hadn't heard from in years. The post already had hundreds of likes. And yet, there I was in our half-furnished apartment, holding a half-used bottle of Windex, finding out I'd apparently agreed to a social media milestone I never consented to. It wasn't the first time. When we got our dog, a nervous little terrier named June, I told Dan I wanted to wait to post about her until we had a feel for her personality. Something real. Dan posted a slideshow that same afternoon. A perfectly filtered park pic, a close-up of her paw in his hand, and a slow-motion clip of her running through leaves. He captioned it, "Meet Lil Scout Paw Print's new chapter begins." That wasn't even her name. We hadn't decided yet. He changed it to June eventually, but only after the post had made its rounds. He said, "It's just content. People know names change." When Dan told me he loved me for the first time, it was in a caption under a rooftop photo of us sipping wine. I hadn't heard those words from him yet, not in real life. Just in writing, publicly, to 3,400 followers and me all at once. It felt like a stunt, or like I'd been written into a role I didn't audition for. But I didn't push back. I told myself that's just who Dan was, always online, always curating, always building the brand. He said things like that unironically. The brand. Still, I let it slide, until the ring photo. Dan posted a picture of a diamond ring in a velvet box on the bathroom counter. The caption was just one word, "Soon," followed by a red heart emoji. And he tagged me, again, no proposal, no conversation, just that. I stared at the post for a long time before I said anything. My phone lit up with excited texts. "Oh my God, Lena, congratulations. Did he do it? You said yes, right?" I hadn't said anything. I didn't even know what he was planning. That night, I asked him, "Why would you post a ring before saying a single word to me about getting married?" Dan shrugged. It was just a tease to build excitement. For who? He blinked. Everyone. And that was the problem. When I told him, it made me feel invisible, like I was being used for likes. He rolled his eyes and said, "Lena, not everything has to be a deep conversation. You're being too sensitive." That was the moment I stopped trying. I didn't argue, I didn't cry, I just stopped talking about it. I stopped reacting. I stopped playing along. I smiled at the right times, went through the motions. But I started planning quietly. If Dan wanted a character in his brand story, I'd give him one, but not the one he expected. Dan was in full performance mode the day I moved out. He had his phone propped up on the coffee table with a ring light balanced behind it, carefully angled to catch that soft glow effect he loved. He was doing one of his Ask Me Anything lives, which always started with the same formula. Ambient music in the background, a white candle burning in the corner of the frame, and a steaming mug of tea he never actually drank. That day's theme? "Let's talk relationships, ask me anything," followed by a caption and, of course, a red heart emoji. While Dan went on about communication and vulnerability to a few dozen strangers, I was upstairs, grabbing the last of my things. My essentials were already out. I'd been moving things slowly over the last 2 weeks, a box here, a bag there. While he was too busy editing reels or setting up his next, cozy morning routine, video to notice what was missing. The framed photo of me and my mom? Gone. My books? Gone. June's bed, which I paid for. Replaced by one he ordered on Amazon the day after I stopped sleeping next to him. I'd even taken the cast iron pan I brought into the relationship. Because I knew, he would try to cook something in it the second I left and post it with some overly staged caption like, working on nourishing myself. Healing. The last thing I packed was my toothbrush. Dan was answering a question about how to keep the spark alive in long-term relationships when I walked downstairs with my bag slung over one shoulder. He didn't even see me. He was locked into the camera, giving a soft smile, saying something about the importance of date nights and really seeing your partner. I left the note on the kitchen counter, not on a post-it, not in a dramatic handwritten letter. Just a plain piece of white printer paper from his own stack, clean, impersonal, sharp. Since you like announcements, feel free to tell your followers I've moved out. Good luck with the likes. And that was it. I walked out the door. I'd already called the Uber. I watched his front porch shrink behind me through the rear window, then pulled out my phone, turned off location sharing, and blocked his number. It took him 2 hours to notice. I know because that's when the calls started or tried to. He'd been wrapping up his live stream, talking about shared goals, when I was already 2 neighborhoods away, at my friend Claudia's apartment, glass of wine in hand, my bag by the door like I'd just landed at a hotel. I didn't respond to the missed calls, or the first text, "Where are you?" or the second, "Is this some kind of joke?" Then the trickle became a flood. "Seriously, Lena, what's going on? Did something happen? Can we just talk for a second? Are you okay?" I let them sit there unread. Watched the bubbles pop up, watched them vanish. I wasn't angry anymore, I wasn't even hurt, I was clean, sharp, cold in a way that felt powerful. Claudia handed me another glass of wine and put on a true crime documentary. We laughed at how overly dramatic it all was. Meanwhile, Dan was staging his own mystery, starring himself, with me as the missing woman. At some point, he posted a photo on his story. No caption. Just a blurry shot of the couch, our dog June's empty bed off to one side, a second glass of wine still full on the table. Then another, him looking out the window, backlit by streetlights, posed like a man grieving something he never really valued. Comments rolled in. "Wait, where's Lena? Are you guys okay? This vibe feels off. Is this about the ring post?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to. By the next morning, the tone had shifted. Dan's concerned partner act wasn't translating. The usual praise was gone, the emojis were gone, the energy was gone. He posted a black and white photo of himself with no caption. It flopped. Then he deleted 5 posts in a row, anything with me in it. By Monday, he tried to rebrand. His next caption read, "Taking time to reflect. Please be kind," with a broken heart emoji and a peace sign. Even that didn't land. He got a few pity likes, a couple thinking of you comments, and silence from the rest. Meanwhile, I was on Claudia's balcony drinking coffee from a chipped mug, listening to birds instead of Dan's podcast voice. I didn't post. I didn't make some dramatic counterstatement. I let him spin in the narrative vacuum he created. He started reaching out to mutual friends. He messaged my sister, "Is Lena safe?" My sister replied, "She's fine. Probably better than you, actually." He called my old roommate, Jordan. Jordan texted me, "He sounds like a wreck, wants to apologize for the misunderstanding." Said you blindsided him? I responded. He blindfolded himself. Dan even messaged June's dog sitter, a woman he barely spoke to, asking if she'd heard from me. That was when I knew he wasn't worried about me. He was worried about how this looked, because Dan didn't lose a girlfriend. He lost his favorite accessory. He lost the mirror he used to reflect back an idealized version of himself to an audience. He wasn't heartbroken. He was brand broken. There's a difference. I went fully silent. No posts, no responses. Not even a meme. I let the ambiguity work for me the way he'd once used it to rack up engagement. And it worked. He started spiraling publicly. Long captions about the lessons that come from silence. A story slide that said, "I just want to be better," paired with a sunset photo and yes, a red heart emoji again. But there were no reactions now. The audience had moved on. I hadn't just ghosted him. I'd ghosted his platform. And the one person who had once fueled it, the woman he tagged, framed, filtered, and captioned, had finally left the frame. And this time, I wasn't coming back. Without me, Dan's page started to rot. At first, he tried to salvage the vibe. He posted a photo of himself at a cafe, staring into the distance with a single-word caption. "Healing?" Then a carousel of solo shots at a nature trail, hands in pockets, chin tilted like he was in a music video. That one got maybe a third of the likes his relationship content used to pull. The comments weren't what he wanted either. "Where's Lena? This feels different. Hope you're doing okay." He replied to a few with smiley faces and vague updates. The digital equivalent of a shrug, but the energy was off, and people felt it. His page wasn't inspiring anymore. It was haunted. He tried a growth arc next. Started posting quotes from the 4 Agreements, one a day, like clockwork. Always against the same beige backdrop, always with a soft shadow behind the text. He journaled in his stories. He posted a video of himself lighting incense, saying he was reconnecting with intention. That one got 17 likes. 3 were from bot accounts. 1 was from his aunt. Meanwhile, I started building a real life, not one I needed to photograph. I moved into a smaller apartment with wood floors and quiet mornings. I went back to therapy, started running again, got promoted at work without once having to post about my hustle journey. I reconnected with friends who didn't ask for updates on Dan, just asked how I was doing. For real. And then, without planning it, I opened a new Instagram account. Private. No followers from the old circle unless I chose them. No curated feeds. Just pictures I took when something actually made me feel something. Books I was reading, wine nights, dog photos. The kind of life you build when no one's watching. I never said Dan's name, not once. But one night I posted a photo from a hike. Just one slide, me, standing at the top of a ridge with Adam, a friend from work. The sun was setting behind us. You couldn't even see our faces. No caption, just the photo. Dan viewed it 19 times. That's not an exaggeration, I counted. His name sat at the top of my story viewers all night, every time I checked. That's the thing about silence. Once someone gets used to hearing you narrate your life, the absence becomes deafening. He posted a video the next day. It was him sitting on the floor of his living room, wearing a hoodie, holding a mug. No talking, just sad music layered over clips of him staring at nothing. The caption said, "Still hoping, still healing, still here." A white heart emoji sat at the end like a sigh, but nobody cared anymore. It got 6 comments. All vague platitudes. I didn't engage, I didn't shade him, I didn't tell anyone what had happened. But I did start to feel the shift, that slow reclaiming of narrative of peace. For months, Dan had made me feel invisible while showcasing us as goals. Now I was invisible by choice, and he couldn't handle it. He had created an audience that only loved him when I was standing next to him. And now they were gone, too. He finally stopped posting relationship advice altogether, stopped talking about growth and reflection. His page went quiet, but I knew he was watching. Because every time I posted something soft, something unassuming, a photo of a book, a wine glass, a dog asleep in a sunbeam, he was there. At the top of my story views. Every time. 6 months after the ring photo that never meant anything, Dan sent me an email. Not a text, not a call, not a DM. An actual email subject line, just wanted to say something. I almost didn't open it. I hovered over the notification on my phone, thumb paused, heart steady. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't curious either. But there was a strange sense of distance now, like looking at a picture of a house you used to live in, familiar, but no longer home. I opened it. It was long, carefully written. The kind of message that sounds like it took an hour to write and 3 more to edit. Dan always was good with structure. The subject may have changed, but the tone hadn't, thoughtful, curated, just raw enough to feel performative. He said he'd been in therapy, that he realized how much of our relationship had become a production, that he'd confused being seen with being loved. He said he regretted making our milestones into headlines, that he missed what we had before the cameras came out. He wrote, "I didn't know how much noise I was making until you went quiet. I see that now." He said he hoped I was happy, said I didn't owe him a response, but he hoped one day we could talk, just for closure. I didn't respond, not because I was bitter, not because I didn't believe he meant it, maybe he did, but because I didn't need anything from him anymore. Not validation, not an apology, not closure. The silence was the closure. Still, I let him have his moment. I took a screenshot of the email, cropped out his name, left the rest untouched, and posted it to my story. No caption. Just a single sentence placed beneath the image: growth is great, silence is better. And beneath that, I added 3 simple lines. A white flag emoji described for surrender. A closed padlock emoji for boundaries that stayed closed. A sparkle emoji for clarity that didn't need to be explained. Dan viewed the story within 10 seconds. He didn't message me after that. He didn't email again. He didn't try to find me through friends. He didn't need to. He finally understood what it feels like to refresh a page and get nothing back. And that was the difference between us. Dan wanted content, a story, a journey arc. He wanted to say, look how far I've come. But I didn't need an audience to prove I was okay. I was more than okay. I was free. He can keep refreshing. I've already logged out. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.